Hey guys, I know some people were absent, so I'm thinking this video may help them, and actually even if you were here, it might help just to see it again. So I'm going to devote this video to doing the 45, 45, 90 right triangle, the special right triangle, and do some examples with it, and then I'll make a different video for the 30, 60, 90. So we started with a triangle. It was an isosceles right triangle. That's how we started. And we figured out, okay, if those two sides, of course, are congruent because it's isosceles, well then these angles have to be congruent, and hence the name 45, 45, 90. Sometimes you'll see it like this, 45, 45, 90. Not subtraction, just sort of a hyphen, almost like a, actually I could really do it like this, probably would make more sense, so you don't think it's subtraction. But it's a 45, 45, 90 right triangle, okay? And what we said was, if I give you one of these legs, suppose I give you, this is, say, 6, right? Could you find me this leg, and could you find me this piece? And this piece, of course, would be the hypotenuse. So in class, what we did was I had you do the only method we knew how. We used Pythagorean theorem. So I saw a lot of people do this, which is a great start. You knew that you know, leg squared plus leg squared equaled hypotenuse squared, and then you used your Pythagorean theorem, and you said, all right, wait a second, I'm missing two pieces. So we had to go back to the original picture and say, wait, is there something else here? Oops, sorry. Is there something else here that we can do to get us going? And eventually you realize, since it's isosceles, this is 6, well, guess what? So is this. And now we can simplify this a little bit more and solve. So you did it in class, and everybody did a really good job figuring it out, and you know, a couple of them were a little tricky, but for the most part you realized you needed to simplify. And let's see, this is going to be square root of 36 times square root of 2, and that's your y, so 6 times the square root of 2. And we did a bunch of them, and we kept finding this pattern that no matter what your leg was, no matter what this was, obviously those two are the same, this was always the leg times the square root of 2. So if I give you this was, say, 10, here. If I said this was 10 instead, this would be 10, and this would just be 10 square roots of 2. Okay, we did a whole bunch of examples, and it kept happening. So this is kind of why it works. Let's do the same thing we just did, but let's do it without any numbers. Let's call that C, just for the sake of using like our ABC. If we generalize this, x squared plus x squared equals c squared, and obviously it's a little more confusing because there's no numbers there, but no matter what x is, if I do x squared plus x squared, I should still get c squared since it's still a right triangle. Okay, and since these two are the same, I have my 45, 45, 90 like I want, and now I can go ahead and try to come up with some kind of formula, which you're sort of already seeing if you saw the other example. So this is going to be x squared plus x squared is 2x squared. And once you get here, you do the same thing, right? You do the same thing that you did from here to here, right? From here to here, we took the square root of 72 and we took the square root of y squared. Well, I'm going to do the same thing. No, it's not 72, but it's still something we can take the square root of. Square root of c squared is just c. Square root of 2x squared is the same as the square root of 2 times the square root of x squared. Right? Just like, again, I broke up 72 to be 36 times 2. I can do the same kind of thing over here. Well, square root of x squared is just x. Square root of 2 is just square root of 2. And there's your c. There's your pattern. 45, 45, 90 matches up x, x, and then the c is the hypotenuse, the one across from the 90, is x square root of 2. So if you know the leg, well, you instantly know the other leg. And if you know the legs, you can just multiply by the square root of 2 in order to get your hypotenuse. So again, you have an example that looks like this, and x and y. Instantly you know x, 12. And then if you use the pattern, multiply by square root of 2, now you know y. You don't even have to use the Pythagorean theorem. And that's the basics. Now let's do a couple more advanced. Because some of you are trying the homework and you're having a little difficulty when you come across something like that. Uh-oh. The answer is not 10 square root of 2. Okay, this time I'm giving you the hypotenuse, and we kind of have to go backwards and figure out what the leg is. But here's the pattern. Right? This is still the pattern. 45, 45, 90. Right? The side across from 45 is x. X, side across from 90 is x radical 2. Which piece of the puzzle are they giving us? They're giving us the hypotenuse. That's this one. Right? That's the one that lines up here. Well, if I gave you the leg, you'd multiply by the square root of 2 to get the hypotenuse. So to go from the hypotenuse back to the legs, you'd have to divide by the square root of 2. And for the moment, this is great. If you understand just doing this, right? If you understand to go back, you have to divide by square root of 2, that's great. But, and this is why a week and a half ago, we did a whole bunch of square root stuff, all the simplifying, because in algebra, you're supposed to know how to simplify this. Okay, so let's just kind of do that on the side. 10 divided by the square root of 2. According to the algebra, rules, we're not supposed to have a square root in the denominator. So we have to multiply by that same square root. Because square root of 2 times square root of 2, that's going to take care of that square root. But I can't just do it on the bottom if I don't do it on the top. Okay, so technically that's just 1, so I'm not really changing anything, I'm just rewriting it. So this is 10 times the square root of 2 divided by square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. And it just so happens I can actually simplify this. I can't do anything here because that's a square root and that's not, but I can simplify this. So that's 5 square root of 2. So my leg is 5 square root of 2, 5 square root of 2, 10. Leg, hypotenuse. You want to double check it? What if I gave you this first? To go from the leg to the hypotenuse, we said you have to multiply by the square root of 2. 5 square root of 2 times the square root of 2. Well, the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is just 2. 5 times 2 is 10. We know we did it right. Okay? Alright, so hopefully that helps with your 45, 45, 90. If you need any more help, please post your questions, and I will do the best I can to help out. Stay tuned for a video for 30, 60, 90, which I'll get up and going as soon as I can. Okay, see you later.